BSI presents The Standard Show, the podcast that brings you the stories behind the standards with Matthew Childs and Cindy Parakill. And today we are celebrating because this is our 100th episode.
So, where are we, Cindy Parakill?
Well, Matthew Childs, we are at our usual To Love Tea and Coffee House.
We are indeed. And what are we doing?
Doing our favorite thing, which is tucking into a slice of cake and having some coffee. And what about you?
Yes, I'm having tea with tea, obviously.
Obviously.
With my cake. Now, look, you've actually bought me my cake and I've already forgotten what it's called. Now, but yours is red velvet cake, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Now, we've been here quite a few times and I don't think you've ever got round to actually buying it.
No, I haven't. I've been eyeing this cake, so I'm really excited.
Talk us through it. How is it after all this time?
It's very moist and I love it. It tastes delicious. It's exactly what I had in mind.
I will be tucking into that. Now, there are pistachios in mine, but I can't remember what else was in it.
Pistachio rose and raspberry cake. It is my favorite.
It is very, very good indeed, and I've managed to demolish almost half of it, but
exactly.
I will be looking for a piece. You can maybe have a little bit of that.
A little bit? Okay, great.
So why are we having tea and cake? What are we doing?
We're actually here to celebrate this time a very, very special occasion, a milestone in our journey.
Some might say a milestone in podcasting. I don't know, but certainly in our podcasting journey, it is, because we have reached how many figures?
3 figures.
3 figures. 100 episodes.
I can't believe it, Matthew.
I can't actually believe it. I know, 100 episodes.
Damn.
I know.
High five.
I'm actually a bit disappointed everyone in the cafe hasn't jumped up and given I'm not even getting to do that anymore. But they've all come here for this special occasion.
Of course.
Now, we are of it Hop 17 Cake because, for anyone who's listening to this for the first time, may not know that over the last 99 episodes so far, Tea and Cake has featured heavily. It's become folklore, really, for the Standard Show. And even if we don't mention it, we're always looking ways in which we can get it into the episode.
Bake it in.
Very good, bake it in there. So we're trying to get it in every time. And we are celebrating 100 episodes, and we thought we'd do this really and have a look back on some of our sort of favourite bits.
Exactly.
And look at the sort of all the content we've featured, and also some of the features we've baked into our content.
Yeah, beautiful, Matthew.
And also sort of a bit of, nostalgia, look at a bit of a history about how we got going and why we were doing it in the first place.
Exactly.
Really.
And also looking ahead, where are we going? I mean, I think it's a nice moment to reflect back and also look into the future and say thanks, a few heartfelt thank yous.
Absolutely. So heartfelt thank yous to a lot of people, actually. We couldn't have come this far without the help of a lot of people. So we do want to take an opportunity to do that. Now, what did you describe this as, Cindy, earlier? When we were talking before I turned the recorder on, it was a nice way you said it.
Yes, I really think it's a heart-to-heart with the host.
A heart-to-heart with the host. And let's say, even add some more H's here, a heart-to-heart with the hosts in our home from home.
Oh, beautiful, Matthew Charles. You are a wordsmith.
So hello, this is a voice you don't often hear on the Standard Show. In fact, you never hear on the Standard Show. That's because it is a sub-standard voice. I'm Tom Wally, the producer of the Standard Show. And a reminder that here on the Standard Show, we really welcome your feedback. Please rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts, especially if you listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can find and follow us on Twitter at Standard Show, and on Instagram at The Standard Show. And check out the show notes for all of the other ways to get in touch. And if you want to know more about me, my fascinating life of sitting in a studio all day making podcasts, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Tom_Wally, and Wally is spelled WHALLEY, and it's mostly about cycling, forest, and that's it, really.
Hey, Matthew and Cindy, congratulations from Sun and Sunlight Management Center on reaching 100 episodes. You're doing such an amazing job with the podcast, and you've highlighted so many different stories and different important topics. My personal favorite part remains the personal anecdotes that you manage to get out of your fantastic speakers and guests. I have no idea how you do it, but you do have this talent. Congratulations again, and keep up the amazing work.
Right, okay, fair enough.
That's what's happening.
I know I said you can have a piece of mine, but I thought you might ask first.
Nope, I'll just...
Okay, red velvet, here we go.
Yeah. And...
Oh, God, that is good.
It is really moist and fluffy. I know. Yeah, it's delicious.
That is very good.
So, Matthew, let me ask, how did it all begin?
How did it all begin? That is a really, really good question. I'm going to go even... I wasn't going to start at this thinking sort of 2.5 years ago, but actually I think it was before that. So I've always been a bit of a radio fan. Always loved radio, ever since I was a little kid. Love that, always sort of listen to radio rather than watch TV. And then obviously podcasts came on the scene 10, 12 years ago, maybe a bit longer, 14 years ago, something like that. Listened to podcasts from the very beginning. And always loved the medium, always thought it was a great way obviously to tell stories and sort of bite-sized chunks and to sort of really bring people in and obviously getting inside their head, you know, talking directly into their headphones kind of thing. So I've always into podcasting, and then I've just been thinking, given the work that I do on education engagement at BSI, thinking, well, this could be a really nice way in which to engage a younger audience, but also a wider audience maybe, about standards and what they do. And I got thinking about this, and COVID hit, and I've been talking to a colleague of ours, Alan Sellers, and I said, I've got this idea, Alan. I thought, well, why don't we start a podcast? Everyone's sitting behind their desks at home these days. Maybe we could do this now. I've always had this idea. Maybe we should do it now.
So this was pre-COVID.
This was, well, just as sort of started to lockdown really. And I said, and Alan, I thought about it for a couple of weeks, and then Alan and I spoke again, and he said, well, should we do this? And I said, yeah, let's do it. Let's just do it. So we came up with a little trailer, right? Just sat down behind microphones and just thought, okay, we'll just say we're going to be providing podcasts around the stories behind the standards as we came up with that idea. And our first episode was all about standards and careers. We interviewed 3 fantastic delegates who attended the IC Young Professionals Programme, and there was a real sort of advocating for standards making participation. It was all about standards and careers, and it kind of all started from there really, and it sort of that had some really nice feedback, and people thought, oh, that's great, and then we thought, well, let's just keep going. So we just get 98 more episodes later. Well, 99 more episodes later, here we are. Yeah.
What a beautiful story. And why did you really want to do this? Like, what is the message that you want to get out there?
I think it's because, I mean, you and I, we work in standards, don't we? And we love these things. We love these crazy little things. That, you know, that we call standards, and it's sort of, I think of it like a document, you know, a bit of some writing, some words on a page that people from all over the world have come together and sort of distilled that knowledge into this really useful guide. Okay? And I thought, well, actually, that's great. There's the thing in the middle, but then there's all these people who sat around the table and had discussions all around the world to come up with it. You know, all these experts and contributors and stakeholders all put in their effort in. And I thought, well, there's something in that. Can't we sort of tell the story about the people who do that and why they've done it? And at the other side of the sort of document, you've got the standard in the middle. You've got users. You've got the user's experience, how they've used that standard to help shape their organisations and their people, and help, let's be grandiose about this, help change the world, really, help shape the world. So I suppose really it was to give, the reason was, can we give a platform to people who wouldn't normally talk about this and sort of bring them out into the light, really, and just to talk about with their passion and their experience and their expertise and wisdom about the sorts of things to do. And what we discovered is that people wanted to share their stories. They wanted just to describe what they do, how they do it, and why they do it. And I suppose that's the heart of the Standard Show, really. We're just asking people who are involved in this amazing community to describe what they're doing and why they're doing it.
Absolutely. And I also think it is for those people that are not involved in the community, right? Because we develop these wonderful documents, standards, and we want to make sure that it is widely disseminated. So I love the podcast because, as you do as well, I know that you feel very strongly about this, is the fact that we get to reach out to millions of people who have no idea that standards are working in the background to make their lives easier, better, and safer. And it's just such a powerful medium.
It is, and I think what's quite amazing, you talked there about sort of around the world, what we discovered, isn't it? You know, you and I mean, we're out recording at our favourite place and to have our tea and cake, but normally we're back at home, or we could be recording elsewhere, but sitting there having conversations with these amazing people, and kind of at the touch of the button, it's out there around the world, and people are listening it all over the world. And one thing I'm really proud of, I know you are too, Cindy, is how many countries we've been listened to in, which is quite amazing. Well over 100 countries, which is absolutely staggering.
Amazing.
But you've asked me how it started.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved?
Great question. Well, I think I stumbled into the world, not into the world of podcasts, but into the Standard Show. I think, Matthew, it was when I joined BSI. We had a chat about our day job, about some sort of training program, and you liked my voice, if I could put it that way, and you asked me whether I want to get involved. So we started off with doing the trailers, but then you realized, I think your words, you realized that I have more potential, and you brought me on board. And
that is true, isn't it? We did. We chatted during COVID, didn't we?
Exactly.
And I was thinking we just started, and I think you came with an idea. You came with an idea for an episode about quality infrastructure.
Exactly.
About that, which we eventually hilariously recorded 9 months later. 9 months later. But I thought that Cindy has a really nice voice. Maybe Cindy might like to do the voiceovers.
Yes.
As I started to think about the show and about how we might bring a producer on board and how we could make it just better, really.
Exactly.
So you came aboard that way. So what keeps you? Why do you still like it? What keeps you interested?
Ooh, I love the medium. I think it's such a underutilized tool to reach out to millions of people. As you said, I am so passionate about standards and quality infrastructure and how it can help the world, and how it can just help, particularly from the work that I do, help developing countries achieve their policy objectives or whatever it may be. And I just wanted to get involved, bring all of these conversations to life, use this medium to bring together the UN, the private sector, governments, just to make sure that everyone understands more about this wonderful tool, this hidden gem called Standards and QI. Oh my God, I sound like a nerd, but...
Well, we like a bit of nerdiness. That's one thing we discovered, isn't it? Well, what we discovered is that, because we were worried, weren't we, as we started to do these, about how technical the language would get. Yeah. And what we found out, discovered through feedback, really, was that people did like it when guests lean into their subject and lean into their language, because it's smart people talking about the things that they do. I think it's really, really important, isn't it?
Yeah, and using their own language, as you say, it's wonderful. And tell me what keeps you going.
I suppose it's because we're never short of content ideas.
Never.
There are always stories to share, because as we keep saying, standards are out there shaping the world. These invisible things really shaping the world around us and making life better, easier, and safer, as you say. Yeah. And I suppose we're never short of ideas for content.
Exactly.
So we got to 100. I mean, we have around, let's say around 90,000 standards on the BSI database.
Wow.
We've only just pricked the surface, really, haven't we, with
Yep.
this? There's plenty more to go.
Indeed. Watch out for that.
Hi Matthew, hi Cindy. This is Aristea Kyriakati from the IC. Wow, you've reached 100 episodes of the Standard Show. This is incredible. I'm very happy to be part of this journey and hear all the fascinating stories about standards and people who make standards. I'm sure you can easily reach 200 episodes, and I cannot wait to listen to more stories. Congratulations again.
That's you pretty much destroyed that cake now, haven't you?
I did. It was too good to resist.
Actually, how was your coffee too?
Yes, it was great.
Actually, I've realised you brought out my tea and you didn't give me any soy milk.
Oh, sorry.
This whole conversation we normally have about the milk curdling and all that sort of stuff.
Oh my gosh, how could I forget? So Matthew, what are your favourite themes and episodes?
Oh, that's a good question, actually. I think I do have some favourite moments. I mean, I've loved doing every single episode. Obviously, they've all been amazing. But I think what I've loved about it is that we've gone for some really big stuff.
Yeah.
We've gone some really big issues, trade and quality and sort of
economic impact,
and you've had climate change, all that sort of stuff around net zero, some huge sustainability, these huge big themes, right? And then, but also we've drilled down into the everyday.
Yeah.
And we've really gone into very specific, either specific standards or very specific day-to-day issues. But I do have some particular favourites. So do you remember we did an episode on fireworks?
Yeah.
Big one coming, Zen, big one. That was to coincide with Guy Fawkes and I of the UK. I was on the 5th of November. And we interviewed Chair of the Fireworks Committee here at BSI. And I really loved doing that particular episode because it allowed me to tell a personal story. It allowed me to tell a story about how fireworks were a really sort of important part of my childhood, but that's some very, very fond memories for me. And my children are actually on that episode. Took them to a fireworks display down in Herne Hill Velodrome in South East London. So that was particularly nice. And in fact, on that episode, though, it was revealed, our guest revealed that although he'd worked on these amazing fireworks displays all over the world, Olympic Games, World Cups, he didn't actually he didn't organise the fireworks in his own bonfire night party at home. So he let somebody else do that for him. So that was a particular favourite. I really enjoyed that one. We've done some other quirky stuff. We did potholes.
Yes,
Then we did potholes. It allowed me to describe the Beatles song "A Day in the Life," and we put holes in that 4,000 holes in Blackburn, Lancashire, and about the relation. That was a great one.
Great.
And also we managed to get Gavin Jones, a fantastic colleague Gavin Jones, who plays the violin. Showcasing the talents of our colleagues has been something I've really enjoyed as well. We also did bees, honey and standards. We've done bees a couple of times, haven't we? But I had an amazing afternoon at spending time with a beekeeper in South East London, and the buzz of the bees. I've been recording with these bees all around me, and I think I mentioned this in the episode where it was actually an incredibly relaxing experience. I was quite worried, a bit nervous. Just what I'd say, actually, I'm surrounded here by the bees, and they are swirling around me and landing on my head, landing on my hands, but they're quite quiet. So I expected it to be a lot of noise. Is that when they make more noise? Is that when they're a bit more disturbed? Is this a normal? This is the lack of sound. Is that normal? But to have all these bees buzzing around me, and again, it allowed me to tell a personal story about how I was basically a swarm of bees almost attacked me when I was 10 years old, flew over my head. One of the most amazing things I've ever seen. So I really enjoyed that. It was a very chill episode, that one, the bees one. But I suppose there's another one talking about sort of food. We had recently melons from Brazil.
Yeah.
So a colleague, we were discussing a project called Trusted Bites.
Yes.
So BYTES. And the colleagues I was interviewing, we ended up in a discussion about, do we actually like melons?
Do I like melons? I'm not. Yeah. Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, I don't know about that, Stephen. I think it was quite a slow yes there. We'll put your melon prejudice to one side, but go on, you're going to jump in there. So that was quite funny. So it allows us to dive into those sort of personal things, really, which I really enjoyed.
And also futuristic things. I think you went to a sandwich making factory.
A sandwich making factory as well. I'm dressed up in all PPE
Exactly, I remember that
and making the
picture.
sandwiches and hearing the sandwiches were made and sort of seeing from it was great because that was on site at a sandwich factory and sort of hearing from our amazing sort of businesses out there who are using standards and standardisation to change the way they do things and just give a fascinating insight to go from a lot of the strategic stuff that we do and listening to people in committee rooms and hearing how they develop the standard and then seeing it applied in practice was absolutely fantastic. So I really enjoyed that. So Patrick, I'm looking at, is it 5 lines here you have work running?
Yeah, we have 5 lines. We've got line 0, line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4. Line 0 is called line 0 because that came at the end, so to avoid confusion.
And what it's individual line has got a different set of sandwiches being produced?
Generally, yeah, as a rule of thumb, they have different varieties depending on what the product. Line 1 tends to be skillets, which are sort of the triangle-shaped ones you tend to see in supermarkets. Line 2 is our flow wrap products, so the ones you see in a clear packaging. That could be hot eats or rolls or paninis. Line 3 is our patient range, and line 4 is salad and wraps, and then line 0 is a bit of everything.
I suppose my favourite bit, because this involves you, Cindy, doesn't it? So we went off to Cambridgeshire to record an episode down on the farm, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Down on the farm.
Amazing. With our wellies.
And we had a big discussion about Cindy's brand new wellies. They weren't really wellies, what were they? They were hunter boots. Anyway, we ended up, I don't know how we got there, but Dan the farmer was telling us about his bulls.
Yeah.
So at some point in the episode, we were discussing the average circumference of a bull's testicle. I've got to ask, given that you mentioned scrotal circumference, what is a good scrotal circumference?
A good scrotal circumference is the breed minimum is 34 centimetres at 12 months old, so we can't breed from that. But there's the older bulls. A lot of the older bulls will be 40 centimetres plus. So the larger the scrotal circumference, the better. It means they're more fertile.
Now, the great thing about that is quite a few colleagues have mentioned this particular moment in this particular episode. So it is fun. I suppose it's those things that you don't anticipate when you pick up a microphone and start talking to someone. So I suppose those have been some of my highlights. But how about you? What's been for you? What's been your favourite bits or favourite themes?
So many, and a lot of the ones that you just mentioned. But I think one that comes particularly to mind is the episode we recorded in Colchester, where we visited this virtual reality company, AIXR, I think they're called. And that was so much fun. We got to put on the headsets and play a few games. It was such an immersive, wonderful experience, and I really enjoyed that.
Oh, what's happened to your hands now, Cindy?
They're pink and they've got scales and nails on it.
Yeah, great nails though.
Yeah, I know. Well, maybe I'll
One's
keep
pink,
this
one pink, one blue by the looks of it. Did your other hand?
Close the fist on the.
Oh wow! And I've got
Oh, what's up? Now you've got some spikes coming out.
exactly. Oh!
Cindy has just whacked me in the back of the head. So that's a proper.
I know. I wanted to use my new equipment.
Is that you just waited until you got the spikes to do that?
Exactly. I was waiting to do this all day.
So I think that's Chris did say when we were getting starting of this to stand well back, and I should have heeded his advice there because Cindy gave me a good whack in the back of the neck.
Then what else? I mean, there's so many. I love all the international episodes that we've recorded with the UN on digital transformation, with the WTO on trade, on climate, all these really important topics. It's just been wonderful. And also our, shorter episodes, standards in 10 minutes. But I
love the standards in 10 minutes, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they are fantastic. It's just been such a wonderful journey. And let me also mention the Olympics episode. That was fun. And the videos we used to make to promote these
We
videos.
did, and we've stopped doing those. And people say, why aren't you doing the videos anymore? We bought the flags, didn't we? I bought an Olympic flag to put behind. Those props we were using to do little videos. Oh, they had the laurel.
Yeah, I had the laurel. Exactly. That was really fun. No, it's been a great journey.
It has. Now, obviously, we can't talk about the content without mentioning the features as well.
Of course.
Now, obviously, we talked about tea and cake a lot.
Yep. That is certainly an ingrained feature.
It certainly is. But do you remember when that started?
No, remind me.
Well, that started in an episode where we did about the future at smart standards, the future of standards. And we got talking, didn't we, about the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God.
Interviewing a colleague about that and about Arthur Dent, who is the main character of the Hitchhiker's Guide, trying to get the ship Heart of Gold, the computer on the ship Heart of Gold, to make a cup of tea. And it gets really, really confused about whether the milk should go in first and all this sort of stuff. And we ended up with sort of a tangent conversation about tea. And obviously discovering that, as we know, there are standards for how to make a perfect cup of tea and coffee and all that. That it led to all of that. And it's been there ever since, hasn't it?
I know. And this was a conversation we had with Alan Sellers.
We did have a conversation with Alan Sellers. We discovered then you didn't like tea, which is a bit weird. But we also discovered, much to my annoyance, to be honest, that Alan was very much a milk in second, which is clearly wrong.
We had a long discussion.
Even though the standard does allow for it, weirdly. It does allow for that, but obviously it's wrong. We know that.
Of course.
But also that he doesn't even use the teapot. To brew his tea,
true.
which is just two massively weird revelations, really.
Very weird.
So there's definitely tea and cake. That's definitely one of them. We also have my favourite.
No.
Go
You're
so
on.
enthusiastic. What was it?
My favourite standard.
My favourite, because the other one, obviously, the other one we love is that my favourite standard, isn't it? Where we bring people in. We brought a lot of BSI colleagues, but also colleagues from around the world to talk about why they like a particular standard.
Exactly. This is where their personalities come into play, and it's just so interesting to understand what resonates with people.
So that's a really cool feature, and there are so many interesting stories. But I think my personal favorite one is your standards journey. I think that is a classic. I love that because I think we ask our guests whether they were seduced, steeped, or whether they stumbled into the world of standards, and I love that. I think that's great.
It is true. It has been one of those things that actually the along with the standards desk of news, our standards journey has been something that's been there since the very beginning, because we're thinking, what is it that will sort of unite everybody?
Yeah.
How did you get involved with standards? What's been your standards journey? When did it start for you, and where are you now?
Yeah.
And you're right. We pretty much ask everybody who's ever appeared on the podcast, what's their standards journey? It's one of those S's.
Yeah, it's an icebreaker, a very special one.
And as I say, it's been there since the very beginning.
Exactly.
Alan, do you know one of the things I love most about podcasting?
Go on.
It's the ability to time travel. Now, Cindy and I were just talking about you and tea and cake and the standards desk of news and standards journeys, and here I am now chatting to you. But, before we get on to any of that, I've got a bone to pick with you.
Go on.
Now, back in episode 20, I think back in the mist of time, you said you were popping out for milk. And well, I've got to ask, given that this is the 100th episode, where on earth have you been?
I fell down some sort of time vortex, I think. I just remember some sort of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy quote that was related to it. But I'm back.
You are back. You are back. It is good to have you back. So, how have you been? What's been your journey, man, and all this time? What's it been like?
Yeah, well, I went out for some milk, which was, and then, the next thing, I fancied a bit of pizza. I've just started working for Uni pizza ovens, and I'm setting up a whole heap of stuff to do with standards and making sure that we make pizzas in products that are safe. So that's what I'm doing. And
so last time we chatted, you were working for Dyson, weren't you? And working in standards. Now you're still in standards, and in fact, you've had some. There's been some good news, because when you and I first met, again a long time ago now, you went on the IC Young Professionals program and came back a IC future leader, and all of that. See previous episodes are all about that. But also now, aren't you the big cheese? Aren't you chairing the committee now?
I am indeed the big cheese of household appliance safety. So I don't know, how many household appliances are related to cheese, do you think? There must be ovens, and I wonder if those little kind of fondue sets are kind of somehow meet requirements of household appliance standards.
Well, there's a challenge, isn't it? Standards for fondue sets. That is something we definitely need to look into, I think. So what is remind me of the committee? Where was the committee? That's what's the committee called?
Oh, you want the acronym? Or
I do it now. TC, what TC is it?
We all have an acronym, Matthew, in the world of standards, don't we? So in the world of standards, the acronym is CPL 61 and subcommittees 1, 7 and possibly 10, although I'm not sure about 10. I think 10's to do with toys.
Now that's pretty awesome. Though when you first started, right back when you were just sitting on the committee, well, as an IC Young Professional member,
yes,
were you thinking, oh, actually, I want to chair this at some point? And that hasn't been that long, has it, from sitting around the table to chairing the thing?
I can't remember. I think again it's this vortex of time that's playing havoc with my memory, but it hasn't been long, no, and it's been, as we like to say, Matthew, a bit of a journey.
Bit of a journey, yes.
Yeah.
And now, so it's all pizza ovens now.
For me, in the day job, for sure. When I'm at CPL 61, about the safety of household appliances, it's all about household appliances. So yes, we have just launched a electric pizza oven that you can use indoors and outdoors. So that is the link to household appliances.
Now, it's about standard. Now, obviously, you and I know, because when we started this thing ages ago, 2.5 years ago now, we're at the 100th episode. We tried to think, didn't we, about what is the one thing, pretty much the one thing we can ask absolutely everybody. And it was about this standards journey, wasn't it? About where,
it was.
How and when did it start for you, and where are you now? And it's worked out quite nicely, hasn't it?
I think it's great. I think the ability to be able to bring standards to life, the unseen things of standards, and put some context to it and bring it into somebody's kind of everyday, oh, so that's what that's all about, is great, because otherwise it's just black and white text that you look into on a PDF and can mean nothing to anybody. It can be quite frightening, really. I still work with people that find standards off-putting, and when they get over that fear, and it's part of my job is to help people get over the fear of standards, they realise that actually they're really powerful, and then they can have conversations with people about why it's okay.
Well, we joke about the yeses, don't we? We talk about whether you, what did we say? Whether you're seduced by standards, you're steeped in standards, or you stumbled into standards, but you just give me another S. People who are scared by standards.
Oh, and it's a very real problem. I'm sure I could dig out some statistics from somewhere. I think it might be an item on the news desk at some point.
Well, that's the other thing, Standards Desk of News, because there's a bit of a story with that, isn't it? We can remember the first time we did that, and we thought we were just going to have the news, right? And I think you sort of shuffled to imaginary papers and said, step on over to the Standards Desk of News. So there you go. Well, thank you, Alan, for that wonderful moment there. And I can't change the name now. I can't change the name. People think, well, why'd you call it that? Well, we have to call it that. That's how it happened, and I can't really change it because, Alan came up with that name.
I think as well, if you're the anchor of the newsroom, if you like, what other desks would there be? You could have international desk and current affairs. It could be many more desks.
It works perfectly. The Standards Desk of News, it works perfectly.
Yeah, I remember doing one of those, and it was the bringing into being... no, hang on. What was it? It was the new volcano sign. Danger volcano.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
I know. Well, we have covered a lot of items on the Standards Desk of News, because as you know, wherever you go in the world, there's always, if there isn't a standards related to it, it's often a question, well, why not, isn't there? So they're in the background, working behind the scenes, doing fantastic things for all different parts of our life, including, as we now know, for pizza ovens. So
absolutely.
Well, look, it's good to catch up with you. I mean, don't leave it so blooming long next time.
Well, I'd love to come back again sometime, Matthew. Maybe do a guest slot on your Standards Desk of News. I'm not quite comfortable calling it mine.
We'd love to have you back.
Well, I'll also pop in to the technical committee sometime. I was listening to some of your latest episodes and actually feeling very jealous of your tea, coffee and cake in the cafe. I think you should come and enjoy some committee coffee at one of our sessions, and really get into the soundscape of what it's like to be in a technical committee.
Well, that's a good idea. We could come in and do a technical committee live, couldn't we? Maybe there's a thought, yes?
Well, that'd be fantastic, wouldn't it? The clink of the coffee cup and the sound of the disagreement. Consensus.
We'll capture the live rows that take place around the table.
Yeah, as long as you've got your kind of bleep button ready, I'm sure you'll be fine.
I'll leave that to Tom.
Hello, Matthew and Cindy. This is Lachine Humphreys from the Standards Development Team at BSI. I wanted to say a big congratulations on reaching the milestone of 100 episodes of the Standards Show. I can remember the first episode, the very first one, and I'm really happy that I've been able to be a part of 3 episodes since then. I'm looking forward to my next appearance. And in the meantime, I will keep an ear out for episode number 101. So well done and keep up the brilliant work.
So, Cindy, we got to 100. Amazing as it is. And we have pretty much demolished the cake now.
We have it.
So we've actually done that. So the next 100 then. I mean, we've touched on loads of themes already in the first 100, but where might we go next, we think?
I think digital is definitely going to be a reoccurring theme. Data, AI, quantum. There's so much on that front because it's truly going to transform the world we're living in. Sustainability, net zero, transport, electric vehicles, healthcare, just basically everything.
Just basically everything. One thing I'm particularly keen on as well, that sort of, obviously we started this podcast during the pandemic, during COVID, and we have emerged now into this post-pandemic world, but I think working practices,
absolutely,
just the way we decide to manage lead and manage organisations and how people are in the workplace. I think there's so much more on that, and that links, doesn't it, to some of the things you're talking about there in terms of healthcare and transport. It all connects together, doesn't it? That's the thing. These things are not sort of isolated.
Absolutely, and I think the beauty is that we can highlight the important work of the standards community in supporting these different industries. And I really look forward to having those conversations.
I think I do too, and I think that's the amazing thing. Whatever you pick, so whatever you pick a sector, pick an industry, pick an idea. If there isn't a standard story, that's a story in itself. So in a sense, because there may need to be just deciding a glossary of terms, for example. So for net zero is a good example, isn't it? Where, recently published some guidelines about what do we mean by this? Can we all share the same terms? Sort of things like that. So I think there's, wherever we go, whatever we talk about, there's going to be a standard story. And of course, alongside all of that, we still have our My Favourite Standards, and we'll have our Standards Desk of News, and we'll have our Standards Journeys of our guests. And also, I don't want to give too much away now, but lots of other series already in the pipeline. Lots of standards in 10 minutes, but also some other special series highlighting particular aspects of the standards world. Looking forward to doing all of those.
Exactly. Watch out, lovely listeners. We've got a lot of surprises for you.
Hi Cindy, hi Matthew, this is Amelie from DIN German Institute for Standardization. Oh my god, you made it 100! Who would have thought? I mean, you're talking about standardization. And I mean, everybody thinks this is just the dullest thing in the world and nobody would ever listen to it. But people do. And I mean, your podcast is really great. I love it. And it's a bit of a role model. And I so hope that after my little first podcast, Human Beings Are Not Ants, I will actually follow up with something like you did, like having talks to colleagues and making the stories behind standards visible and exciting. So keep it up, and I am already looking forward to the next 100 or maybe 1,000 episodes. Hear you.
Well, Cindy, we've come to the end of the cake.
Yes, we have.
How was the red velvet? And finally,
delicious.
Good.
It was really good. Probably not as good as yours.
The pistachio was amazing. And next time we come, I'm having this all the time.
Yeah, me too.
That's what it'll be that from now on. We did say that we'd go through the entire cake range, and we have.
And now we've made a decision.
We've highlighted on. They've settled on that now, is it? The
absolutely.
Pistachio.
Yeah.
So we come to the end of the cake and come to the end of this 100th episode celebration.
Amazing.
So I suppose we have to finish really with some thank yous, don't we?
Absolutely, some heartfelt thank yous. And do you want to kick off?
I will kick off, and I want to say the first thank you really is to Alan Sellers.
Yeah.
So a huge thank you to Alan for getting on board really in the first place and going with my idea and thinking, okay, let's do this. And I think what was amazing from that is just we got on with it, we did it, had some lovely feedback, and we kept going. And I think the conversations I had with Alan at the very beginning sort of shaped the whole tone of the podcast. This standards journey and standard desk of news and that sort of slightly quirkiness and the sort of tone that we used, we sort of set that out from the very beginning, and we've continued. And here we are now, 100 episodes later. So huge thank you from me and Cindy, isn't it really?
Absolutely, yes. And I think next up would be our wonderful guests. We've had brilliant conversations with people from all around the world, inside and outside of BSI. It's just been fantastic.
It has been fantastic, and I think what's amazing, it's all different levels really, all different experiences,
exactly.
And it's talking in their own way, sharing their own expertise and passion about standards. It's been absolutely brilliant, and I think some of those guests, certainly those colleagues from BSI, but also outside BSI, also for sharing their ideas.
Yeah.
Sort of coming with ideas for episodes and guest suggestions and just supporting us and spreading the word. That's been amazing too. So a huge thank you to people who've contributed in some way, whether they've been a guest or not. It doesn't matter. They've all played their part, and we wouldn't have been able to do it without them.
Exactly. It was a real team effort. Matthew, we should also thank Lokin, Aristea, Deborah and Amelie for their wonderful tributes in this episode.
We should. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for recording those for us. We really do appreciate it. And I also want to say a huge thanks to Tom Wally, our amazing producer, Tom Wally. Just for getting on board, really. I remember when Alan and I had started the podcast and we thought, could we even have a producer? Should we even do that? Would it be amazing if we had? And I remember emailing Tom, who I knew, the only producer I knew he was producing podcasts and other things, and I dropped him an email. I found him online, dropped him an email and said, could you have 30 seconds to chat? And he came back literally 2 minutes later and said, I love it when people ask me for 30 seconds for a quick chat. And that quick chat led to him getting involved in the podcast. And I think what's been amazing with having him on board is sort of his energy and his enthusiasm, and sort of pushing us to be as creative as we can and just to keep going, come up with those ideas. And it's been fantastic. So huge thanks, Tom, for being our amazing producer and helping us do all these fantastic things.
I can't imagine what the podcast would be like without Tom. He's just done amazing.
And I think probably finally, Cindy, we should thank the listeners.
Yes,
right?
we should.
Everyone who has listened to a bit of an episode, all of an episode, or even all of the episodes.
Indeed.
I think really for sort of lending us their ears, really, and sort of allowing us to get into their heads to tell them stories about standards.
Of course. And I want to take this opportunity to thank you, Matthew. Thank you for bringing me on board. It has been wonderful working with you. You've had this vision and you've brought it to life. I think we've worked well together, and I will.
I'm going to get emotional now. I didn't know you were going to say that. While you take a pause, I just want to say thank you to you, Cindy. It's been amazing too, hasn't it? It's been a hell of a journey.
Yes,
We've had our
it
own
has.
standards journey on the Standards Show.
Yeah, you are amazing.
you too. And we've done 100 episodes, and here's to the next 100.
Yes.
So thank you, Cindy Paracle.
Thank you, Matthew Childs.
You have been listening to the 100th episode of
Get in, Cindy Paracle.
of The Standard Show with Matthew Childs and Cindy Paracle. Subscribe to us now wherever you get your podcast.
You almost forgot to say subscribe.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know. Is that okay?
You just heard a stripped media production.
So, where are we, Cindy Paracle?
Well, Matthew Childs, we are at... Okay, again, go.
This is going in the blooper section at the end.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. How could you forget we've just arrived?
I know.
How can you forget? Don't even look at
No, I need to. I can't. I don't know why. It's like escapes my mind. Otherwise, I'm going to forget your name. So it's. Let me